I was very pleased to be asked to do this interview, and I very much enjoyed reading Mike's book. It's a treasure trove of stories about Hollywood in a really fascinating period, the changeover from the old studio system to to what succeeded the studio system, the mess that succeeded. A really tremendous behind-the-scenes look at that fascinating period. I thought we'd start by talking about...
Can I just say one thing before we start?
Certainly.
I am so impressed with everything that I have seen today. I am just knocked out. And all the presentations, Julie's, yours, and everyone, David's, are just so marvelous, you know. And I'm sitting there saying that I'm going to be the most boring thing on the evening. But
you were listed in the program as a living link to
yeah,
this.
I feel like I've got to go directly from here to the museum.
It's in part because you visited the set as a boy of Pearl of Death.
Yeah.
Tell us what that was like.
Well, that was fun. I mean, he took actually my very best friend and I, Neville Jason, who is an actor in England. Was an actor. He's now basically working mostly in books and audiobooks. But at any rate, we went to the studio at the time that they were filming Pearl of Death. And the scene that we came to that day was the scene in the museum where Miles Mander, who plays the heavy in the film, is about to steal the Borgia pearl. And of course, what happens is that they've gone through this involved procedure of setting up an alarm system when somebody kicks the plug out, so of course it doesn't work. And my father was trying to say, well, you know, it'll never work, Mr. Howe. You know, and of course, at one moment he gets to say, I told you so, briefly. But as the distraction is made so that people look away from where the pearl is being concealed, being displayed, Miles Mander theoretically takes the pearl, puts it in his pocket, runs across the entire room, and dives out through a stained glass window. Very dramatic, very exciting. Of course, it wasn't him; it was a stuntman. But that's the moment that Neville and I got to see, which was terrific. And I was amazed because I'd never seen anything like this before. And I thought, how does he go through glass like that and kill himself? Well, it turns out it's made of, at that time, it's a little different now, but in those days, it was made out of basically a hard rock candy substance. And the director, Roy William Neal, gave Neville and I both a piece of the window to take home, which we immediately went home and converted my garage into a miniature studio, created a camera, and then went back and created the whole scene all over again. Neville got to go through the window. I was the director.
How did your dad come up with the characterization for this job? That wasn't his standard screen character.
No, no, that is not his natural voice. I mean, he's putting on the Cockney accent in that. Although he did claim to be a Cockney. He was born within the sound of Bow Bells, but he did not have the Cockney accent. So I think it was probably a collaborative thing between the writer, Roy William Neal, looking for something that would be contrast to Nigel Bruce, and particularly Nigel Bruce, because most of their moments, many of their moments were together. But I would say that it was probably an evolution of discussion and saying, and you know, maybe let me just say, maybe my father came and said, how about this? And they liked it, you know.
I'm dying to ask you what Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce were like.
A contrast. I mean, you know, you're talking to someone who was a child at the time that I met them, so, you know, my ability to analyze them was somewhat limited. But I do recall that Nigel Bruce was the most charming, warm, funny man I've ever met. And my impression of Rathbone was somewhat cool and aloof, you know. Again, my father was much friendlier with Willie Bruce. They had just done a play on Broadway together called Virginia, not shortly before they came out to do the films. And
was that a musical?
That was a musical, a rather spectacular musical about the colony of Virginia. And Bruce played the governor, and my father was Sir something or other, one of the early settlers. I was taken to see it. I was probably about 4.5 years old. And when my father came out on the stage, I stood up and said, "That's my daddy." I think it's the only time in my life I ever upstaged my father. But at any rate, my impression of Nigel Bruce was that he was this lovely, lovely man who quite obviously liked my father very much. He gave me a photograph. They both signed a formal photograph, which they just signed and dated, 1944. But Willie Bruce signed another one for me, which was just a single headshot of Willie as Dr. Watson. And he wrote on it, "To Michael, who is a nice boy in spite of his father." And I used to have it on the wall in my bedroom for about, I don't know, quite a while. And then one day it disappeared, and I think my father just got tired of seeing it.